Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Lockett with Lasting Conversations, and we are about to refuture your life. We have an amazing guest with us today, Sara Arey. Hey, Sara.
Hi there.
How are you? This is just amazing that we are here together. We were connected by a mutual friend of ours, and this is one of the most organic shows that I've done. We've done organic, but the universe has put us together for this very moment, and clearly there's a huge message for all of us today. So Sara is a best-selling author, speaker, energy mentor, and she works with people to claim their power, own their awesomeness, and be leaders for themselves. And I'm going to say me, for myself as well. So this is really amazing. And your book is extraordinary. And we're going to start right there. The universe flippin' loves us. Now you have a F asterisk loves us, and you can put any F word you want in there, but the universe loves us. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you. And actually, the title of the book is The Universe Effing
Loves
Loves
me.
Me.
Me. The universe loves me.
Yeah. It was really sweet when I was first publishing the book. A woman said, if I bought the book and just read the title every day, I would be better off.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So tell us about your what it is that you do. You were mentioning just before we got on the recording about embodiment. So yes, you're an energy mentor. And we on the show, we've talked about spirit and this and this. And in the woo community, it can get very out there. And these days, we're meant to come in. So all this enlightenment has been great. But how do we bring it home? Bring it to our bodies, bring it to our homes and our communities.
Yeah. I spent so long trying to get up,
Mhm.
raise my vibration, get enlightened, get lighter. And that all served its purpose. I don't have a judgment about that. It's just that I realized at one point that I wasn't in my body. So I didn't have the presence I wanted to have because I was just all up in my head and actually not totally in my body. And I studied with a woman who was saying that the natural energy of women is to move downward. And that made so much sense to me and of course, we all have masculine and feminine energy, and the feminine energy is meant to ground us and get us in our bodies. And so many traditions haven't honored that because they've been predominantly led by people leading with their masculine energy, which is an upward energy. So, getting into the body, getting grounded helps bring balance and helps us show up differently in the world because we do exist in a physical world, much as I tried not to for a long time.
So help us describe what that might mean to somebody to be in or out of your body, because many people would say, "Well, I'm walking around, I'm driving my car." So tell us what that means to not be fully in our bodies.
Oh, that's such an excellent question because would have said, yeah, I'm in my body. I mean,
Right.
you know,
Right. Somebody's walking the dog today. Right.
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 What I realized was I wasn't comfortable in my body. There were things about my body that I just didn't feel like I could love or accept, even though I would, on a spiritual level, say, "Of course, I love everything about me," but I didn't actually. And I realized that, oh, well, I was doing a very experiential leadership program I was participating in, and I had to perform in front of the group of 28 people with another woman, and um, we had to do something that was very counter to how we usually are in the world. And So we decided to do a dance that she and I both have very flowing energy that so the dance is going to be very jerky. And so already it's uncomfortable. And then she said, "Let's do it in our bathing suits." And she has the kind of body that seems like a really normal thing to say. And
Yes.
it was so triggering for me. I sobbed for an hour before we did the dance because clearly there was so much about my body that I truly wasn't loving. And so that's when I really started on a journey of figuring out what it was to be in my body. And that meant actually feeling my feelings. A lot of times we think our feelings,
Mhm.
but that's just a head thing. And we don't actually feel them. We don't feel the energy in our bodies. We don't let ourselves cry. We don't let ourselves, especially a lot of women I've worked with, we don't let ourselves feel anger, like really feel it. We can tell ourselves all the stories and that person shouldn't have done that and all that, but that's still the head.
And even to express it. I mean,
Mhm.
even today, a beautiful goddess, it was very interesting that, yes, she was saying that she was in her awareness for things that had triggered and angered her over the summer. But what I was sensing, I love her dearly, was that she wasn't allowing the fullness of what it really felt like to really let it out. Because she said, because I became unconscious and I became unconscious. Well, okay. But isn't that, this is kind of going back to what you're talking about, where if we're up here in love and light, have we almost discarded parts of ourselves because, oh, I better not feel this way because that's not high vibration? I mean, this feels exactly to the core of what you're speaking about. Let
Yeah.
it rip. Let it rip.
Yeah. And there's so much taboo, especially for women,
Yep.
especially for people of color, that you can't express anger.
Right.
Whereas for men, that's about the only emotion they're supported in expressing. And we're seeing the impact of that in our country and our world today. So few of us were ever taught, first of all, that it's okay. And secondly, how to do it.
Right.
And so, first of all, feeling like we have permission and then having a space where it's safe to do that. And I love being able to hold that space for my clients because it's one thing to do it off in our own little corner. It's another to do it in relationship with somebody,
Right.
to be witnessed. It's a whole nother level of acceptance and permission and therefore power. I used to think that being spiritual and powerful meant kind of pushing down my human side. And I wasn't even conscious of this. It wasn't a
Mhm.
decision I made.
Right.
It was just that seemed logical. But the great truths of the universe are always paradoxes. And what I discovered is that the more I embrace my humanity, the more I am being light and the more access to my power I have. And it can be a freeing journey. It can feel really challenging sometimes because some of these emotions just aren't comfortable. And it's so worth it.
Right. It can be so rich. And what you were describing is holding a container, and I'm going to say safe expression where, I'm might be hearing some neighbors upstairs having a moment. And this is a busy family, and then screams beget screams. And God knows I had my moments as parenting little ones too. Um, but this is just it, where when you were mentioning on that broader scale, things can, when it gets bottled up, it is anger expresses sideways, as they say, and it's gone outward, or somebody wants to go out and hit people or punch the dog or scream at their kids or whatever it is. What you're describing, what you and I are trying to describe here is from that embodied place and from a conscious space to say, okay, these feelings are coming up. Let's express them. Let's verbalize them. Let's acknowledge them and give them somewhere else to go to then dissipate. And then maybe we transmute, but we can recognize and then move on
Yes.
without squelching and without exploding.
Yes. It's absolutely accurate what you said about feelings coming out sideways.
Yeah.
I think it's squished out like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yes.
When you press down, it's gonna come out
It's
under
gonna
pressure.
come out. Yeah.
And being able to just say my anger is okay.
Yep.
And when we can consciously accept them, express them, be with them, we don't project our emotions out onto other people. Anger has, well, all emotions have energy in them.
Right. If it's sadness or grief or fear, or because all of those come out as anger many times. We're
Mhm.
just fearful, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, all the different flavors and joy. Because if you can't express healthy anger, can you express healthy joy?
No.
Right. Exactly.
And when we can access our anger, we get access to that energy. And that's an upward moving, motivating energy. So it's, I'm not encouraging you to go yell at somebody.
Right.
This is how to use the energy of your emotions for yourself. And I think of emotions like kind of like a little kid that if you don't listen to a young child that's trying to get your attention,
Mhm.
they just get louder.
Right.
And that's what happens with our emotions too. So when we pay attention to them as they're arising, they don't have to get what feels overwhelming. They don't have to get bigger in order to get our attention. They already have it.
Right.
And I encourage my clients to move to like just with anger or dance. And it's not to get rid of it,
Mhm.
it's to let it move, it's to move with it. And then very often they'll say, oh, now I have an insight about this thing where I felt stuck.
Right. Well,
Uh,
it's movement and shifting a perspective, shifting your body. Um, like you're just saying, it kind of unblocks so many synapses and the physicality within our body too, right? Yeah. So talk about your book and the nature of the universe loves me. Let's get to that.
I had had the thought for quite a while of writing a book. And it wasn't until that's a phrase that I have been saying with the full F
Yep.
for years. Like when I got a new client, or um, sometimes as a reminder to myself, like, this will get better. The universe effing loves me. And once I got that, oh, that's the title. The subtitle is getting out of your way and into your flow. But the more deeply we know something, the more we live from it. So we can know something from our heads, from our hearts, from our bodies. It's when we know it at all three levels that we live as though that's true. Like in the book, I use the example of, would you go to a webinar that's going to teach you how to know that ice is cold? Like, well, no.
That's right. Why would you do that?
Right. You've never been hot and reached for a cup of hot tea to cool you off. You know, ice is cold. And when we can get on all levels that we are truly loved by all that is the universe, God, whatever name you use, then it's so much easier to love and accept ourselves and to move powerfully into the world as genuine creators. And that's what I love supporting people in, because everyone has unique gifts and unique things that they're here to create in the world. And I get excited about the thought of having a whole world of people who are in their creative power,
Mhm.
which can be creative problem solving, creative, creating a new business. And it can be creating what we think of typically as art.
And it is
So,
that stepping out of our way piece. That seems so critical and crucial. And I've, certainly had all kinds of awarenesses of, oh, look at me feeling I'm holding tension. Look at me being scared of something that I didn't need to, right? Maybe that's an old habit that might get into Joe Dispenza type of thing, the habit of thinking these things or being in fear spaces. Oh, wait a second. I get to reframe and look at everything from a more joyful space. So, yeah, the universe loves me. This is fantastic. And even talk to us about now where people are in fear spaces. And, I keep saying a little drumbeat of watch your news or listen where you have to, but please don't live there because that's not going to help everything that we're talking about because that kind of feeds which, which mind are we feeding? The fear spaces or something that has another potential to it. So, in this time and in these energies, it's very intense in many ways. What you're talking about is really coming back to that self sovereign certainty. And
mhm,
if we are our own self sovereign people and can live from our heart and our head and our heart, knowing the same knowing, this is then how we can walk through a more peaceful space. So I may have started off on a bit of a tangent, but it feels again to the very core of what the work is, gets into acknowledging all of our aspects and coming to that embodied space so that then becomes our ripple effect into the world. But it has to start right here, right within.
yes. Um, the world is very intense right now, and
Mhm.
especially things in this country. I'm actually leading a group with a couple of friends of mine called The Antidote that's helping people work with all the things that are going on politically, because things that are happening out there, if there may be a level at which they bother us because they're not aligned with our values, and
Mhm.
we're concerned about people being taken care of, people outside of us.
Right.
That's one level. That's not an especially emotional level. When we really get triggered emotionally, we have the opportunity to look at it and say, oh, what's here for me? In the antidote, we've looked at things like um, just being able to be with fear and the vulnerability of having hope
Mhm.
and wounds that have come from specific dynamics, whether it's like sister wound, father wound that are being kind of played out on a national stage. So we have that opportunity. And that definitely needs to be taken in bite sized pieces because any of us being in overwhelm just simply shuts down our systems.
Right.
And that doesn't benefit anybody. So on like on those calls, we don't discuss politics. We're just talking about what are we noticing in ourselves
Right.
that's being brought up by politics. And this can happen in conversations with a loved one in your household or someone at the grocery store. When we look to see, oh, something's going on inside me, can I be with that? Can I hold space and approval for whatever I'm feeling in this moment? And when we do that, space starts to open up inside of us, and we do have more of that flow. So the book talks about different ways to do that. Um, I have something I use, I call them refuturing statements. And they all start out with, what if it's possible? And so if we're talking about a reaction we're having, it's like, what if it's possible that I am okay? In this moment, I am okay. What if it's possible it is safe for me to feel this? What if it's possible it is safe for me to see what I am experiencing? And those are what I call bridge statements because they help us get from where we are right now to something we can see and we desire. A lot of people use affirmations, and those can work well. They can also actually backfire.
Yes. Yes. Because if you're not believing it, so these bridging, what would it feel like to XYZ? Can I imagine
Mhm.
XYZ? And then and everything that you were just talking about.
Yeah, there's a world of
Yeah.
difference between saying, I am wealthy, when your
Right.
mind goes, um,
Yeah, but
can we talk about this?
yeah.
And saying, what if it's possible
Yeah.
I am wealthy? And then you're in a creative space like, oh, well, I'm wealthy in friendships. I am wealthy in my imagination and creativity. And the mind can't argue with what if it's possible. So it just lets the mind rest as you energetically move into new spaces. So the book has a lot of those statements.
That's beautiful. And for those, if you're in traffic or you're in the parent pickup line and these sort of micro and macro moments, day to day, grocery store line, um, do you have some tips for people in those moments? But I would think it's as simple as what you were just saying, taking that pause, having a breath. And for me, sometimes I would like to say, oh, I'm now observing all this crazy town and it doesn't even belong to me.
Mhm.
And do I have to engage in somebody else's fight, somebody else's drama in the parent pickup line? Right? Is that even my lane? It's not even my lane. And maybe talk to us about that as a matter of fact. So talk about, claiming our own power also means we don't have to engage in everybody's beeswax and energy.
Right.
Yeah.
The way I think of it is it's like when I am engaging in other people's stuff, I'm leaning forward. I'm actually kind of moving out of my body to get into their stuff.
Right.
When I am in my body, it's like I'm coming back and actually sitting back down in my body.
Right.
Oh, this is my realm. And the more I connect with my own power, the more I trust other people's and trust that they're going to work through their things. So I don't have to solve their problems or get involved. Now, it's different if it's your child, something like that. And
Right.
still, you can do it with a different energy and a different perspective,
Right.
not trying to take over, but supporting them. So if you're sitting in traffic, you can see, oh, where is my attention? Am I playing through a meeting that I had or a conversation I'm going to have? What's the concern? Like, why is it on repeat in my head? And then make up a what if it's possible. Like, what if it's possible I can stay clear and grounded in this conversation? Or what if it's possible that I communicated more clearly in that meeting than I realized I did? But really the one statement that if I could only have one statement to give clients, it would be, what if it's possible that I am okay, truly and deeply safe and okay, just as I am? Because it's when we don't believe we're safe and okay that we start scrambling.
Right. Well, that gets into that trust piece because if, it's hard to trust other people if we're in our own wackadoo moment, right? If we're not in that safe space, do we trust ourselves? Any of these other things. So it feels like it's a great combo hack, if you will, of everything that you were just describing.
Yes. And the more we feel safe in ourselves,
Hmm.
the more we just bring that energy into every situation we're in. And it's amazing how that impacts other people without our having to do anything.
Right.
We're just being grounded and steady. And that allows their nervous systems to relax more. And
Eh,
yeah, it just ripples out.
Right.
And we're just being ourselves.
Right. Well, this is what the core seems to be is calming our frayed systems. If it's our mental bodies and our physical bodies and our central nervous systems. And maybe we need to create a new phrase instead of a central nervous system. Or central calming system, right? Let's get into that core of calming our jets, and the divinity within can be that light that needs to be there without it being. We just don't have to feel so hot all the time. And I'm speaking for self. I mean, I can, heaven knows and some of this stuff can go deep in ways that we not even consciously in knowing about. Um, but I think it goes into that sense of calm, that sense of safety and peace. And from there, everything happens. And I love your is it possible or your what ifs, and that we can use our bodies and our senses to imagine and reimagine what is possible. Now you picked up two cards. Do you have your own oracle deck or angel deck or whatever you're calling them? Practical
Yes, this,
deck, or these are somebody else's. These are
this is the
yours.
deck
Oh,
that gives me
beautiful.
a look.
What? Okay, cool.
And so each
For those listening, they do say the universe fucking loves me, and it says it right there. That's right.
with a heart instead of a U.
With a heart. Yeah.
Uh, so the what if it's possible statements are expansive statements, and they open us up to new possibilities, to creativity. And then I pair those with a choose statement because choosing then focuses on what we want to focus on.
Right.
So we expand and then we focus. And each card has a what if it's possible and an I choose statement. And the one I drew just before our call says, what if it's possible I am bigger, stronger, smarter, and more love than I ever realized? I choose to see myself with loving eyes.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Exactly. Do you have another as a for instance you
Sure.
want to pull for this moment?
Mhm. What if it's possible for me to fully accept all of who I am? I choose to own my value, beauty, and creativity.
Beautiful. And so that value, this is where um, we might need to save for a whole nother show, but this notion of our own value. And yes, this gets into our own personal and political and on a global scale. People own our own self worth. That says everything. And that gives voice. It gives voice to ourselves and voice at work and voice to a collective without that yelling and screaming part, without that sideways. It's from that embodied value self. And I'm sure you've got, perhaps you work with CEOs, and it takes leadership positions to a whole nother dynamic if they can then reframe hierarchies or all of it. It fits everywhere of what is of value and what is the core value of self, of a company, of a school, of a town, right? What is that value?
Yes, because then it has us acting from that
Yep,
rather than acting in reaction to something else.
correct.
And that's a whole different orientation. And that's how we
So
can
true.
approach the political system. It's
Right.
like, how do I live from my grounded center in relationship with the political system rather than reacting to what's going on?
Right. Perfect. So, Sarah, is there anything else, any further nuggets for us on this little journey of a beautiful conversation today?
Mm. I used to think that becoming spiritual meant pushing my humanity aside. And it was on a super subtle level. I really didn't realize I was doing that. And the more I embrace my humanity, and by that I also mean like looking at my what I have in the past termed my faults or things where I am contracting. When I can look at all of that with loving eyes, then how I relate to other people shifts. And it allows me to really be confident in myself. Like I think of power as power within rather than power over. And if we're looking for someone else's approval, we're out there and going for power over. So the more I can love and approve of and be with myself, the more I can generously give to other people because I feel full.
Without the depletion,
Mhm.
right? In the overgiver and the fixer in recovery. So, yeah,
Yeah, I always
from a
think,
full space. Yeah.
yeah, I encourage clients give from your overflow,
Yeah.
not from your cup.
Very nice. Oh,
You're
this is
very
just beautiful. This is so beautiful. Sarah Arey, where can people find you? And do you have any special projects you're working on? So this is great. You have your book, you've got the cards, and tell us how people can be with you.
well, the book and cards are a great place to start. The book is available on Amazon. The cards you need to order from me, and my website is Refuture. So it's Future, refutureyourlife.com. And I also have a journal that to help work with feelings and embody feelings. I also do one-on-one coaching, which is on the website, and am launching doing VIP days where people just want to have something that we delve deeply into. We have the space and time to do that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, and we'll put up all the show notes, all the information there for people to find you. Sarah Arey, wow, what a blessing, what a gift. So, so appreciated. Thank you.
It has been such a pleasure, Heather. Thank you.
And thanks for listening, everybody. Please remember to like, follow, review, share this show and all the other episodes. This is Lasting Conversations. We get to the heart of everything.